Your Tibetan anger log has really served as a learning journal. It has helped you to recognize your triggers. It has helped you to recognize the self-talk that you have during your moments of anger or even before that's contributing to your anger. It's helping you to recognize as well the physical feelings that you get when your anger is starting and perhaps right in the middle of the anger as well. And it's also helping you to recognize the particular emotions that you have that will contribute to your feeling even more angry. It's helping you as well to recognize what your actions are and which ones are working for you, which ones are not, in helping to make the situations better or contributing to them not turning out so well. So we're now going to go to the piece that was the reason for us doing this in the first place. What you can do about it in a proactive way and in a healthy way for the ones that you can't prevent. So, where do we start with looking at anger and how we can respond in a healthy way? Let's start in the first piece where we're looking at situations. Are there situations that you can actually avoid? If possible, then yes, based on what you've noted in yourself, stop. Don't engage with those people or avoid those places in particular if you know that they're going to be triggering you. The other part of it that's very important is your particular state physically. Are you eating well? Are you getting enough rest? It is a fact that if we're not eating well, if the nutrition is not in place, if we're feeling tired, that we have a much lower threshold to respond to things that we don't like, right? It's almost like we have a much shorter fuse. So if we're in a good place with other parts of our lives, if we're getting the rest, if we're getting enough exercise, if our nutrition is going well, then there's things that happen that we will have the bandwidth to kind of go, that's nothing. We will view it very differently. We will respond to it very differently. So I really want you to take a look at that part of what you can control to make sure you're doing all of the things that you need to be doing physically for your body to make sure you are in the best place, you're well positioned to deal with whatever life has to offer you. The other part of that I touched on briefly is just the environment itself. Know what your environments are. There's certain places that are very conducive to us feeling good. There are other places where they actually do act as a trigger for us. So what are those places for you? Like, I know I love music. Going into places where the music is good, it has a particular ambiance, I respond very well to that. What are the places physically that really helps you? So if you're going to be having a meeting with someone, for example, where you need to have, it could be a difficult conversation, what is the ideal environment for you to put yourself in to make sure you're not going to be triggered or you're not going to be exacerbating a particular situation that's already bad? So that's the first part of what we want to look at. Prevent what you can, and then for the other parts that you can't prevent, make sure that you are taking care of you so that you have the bandwidth to respond in a way that is going to be healthy. Now, on to the other part, the think it part. Look at the situations that you found yourself in when you were angry and what was your self-talk. The ones that didn't end up going very well, take those out in particular and see how you could frame things differently, right? So reframe, refocus, redirect. So look at the situation and ask yourself, how could I have responded differently to that? What was your self-talk? A lot of times there are things that we say to ourselves that are quite negative and only serve to make a situation worse. Sometimes we actually come up with our own problems because we're anticipating particular things and making particular assumptions that are actually incorrect. So look at the situations that you were having a particular kind of self-talk and see if you could have viewed that very differently. Oftentimes, just empathizing with the person that our anger is directed at is very, very helpful. So, in other words, if you think that this person is always, let's go back to, a work colleague that's not pulling their weight and always asking for more meetings, etc. And you think that they're doing this because they're lazy, or they just, they're that type of person that couldn't care less, they're not thinking of others. What if it's a situation that you stop and you think perhaps they're coping with stuff in their personal lives that actually has nothing to do with me, but it plays itself out this way? How would you approach them differently? What would your response be to them asking you for that meeting if you're thinking that, oh my gosh, they perhaps have so much on their plate, or they might not even be aware of the fact that they're dropping the ball or putting too much on my plate? So as opposed to your feeling resentment, that's really building up that anger for the meeting that you're going into, you would be going into that meeting with some kindness and compassion. It doesn't mean that you're still not having an issue with having a meeting that might result in your getting more work on your plate, or that person not pulling their weight. But what it does mean is that your thoughts are going to be very different, so you're going to feel differently. As opposed to feeling angry, you might feel some empathy, you might feel going into it a greater sense of control, where you'll have the clarity that you need to really engage and think differently. We know for a fact that when we are angry, we're not able to think as creatively or as clearly. So we want to make sure, as much as possible, we can be giving ourselves a positive thought, reframing it in a way that would work better as far as us, decreasing the tension and the anger that we'll feel going into it. So, quick recap. Make sure, first and foremost, you're taking care of you. Eat well, get your needed rest so that you will have the bandwidth to face whatever life has to offer, good and bad. Secondly, wherever possible, make sure you prevent the things that are going to trigger you, right? So avoid the people and the situations that are going to get you into a place where you're going to be feeling angry and upset. Thirdly, for the things that you can't avoid, and it's a part of living, we are going to find ourselves in situations where we are feeling angry. Remember to first reframe, look at the situation from a different place, watch your self-talk, cut out the negative, reframe, so that whenever you're going down a road where you're feeling that it's really negative or unkind to yourself or to someone else, try to see another perspective, come at it from a different angle. And in closing, I want you to remember that anger can be your friend. It is there to say, hey, there's something going on here that you need to take care of. So it's not what's happening, it's not the anger, it's basically our response to that. So let us use it as a guide, as a signal, which is what it is, and do the parts that we need to do in order to take that signal and to use it well to make our lives and our relationships better. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. Please like and share with someone else who you know would be able to benefit from it as well. So until next time, stay elevated. Bye for now. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to be using our Tiffin anger log. I want you to log each situation that you found yourself being angry, right? So you're going to write down what the situation was, what triggered it, what was your self-talk, what were you saying to yourself, then how did it make you feel, and then from how it made you feel, what did you end up doing in that situation, and how did that end up, right? What resulted from your behavior, from your response? Did it work out well? Did it make the situation worse? Did you end up feeling better, right? We're going to be tracking that so that you can start to see the patterns and your particular anger style and what it is that you do in those moments, and what the impact is that the anger is actually having in your life. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what you can do to make sure you're responding in a way that is more in your control and having the outcome that you would like in those particular situations.